All right, so today we're going to talk about setting up templates in DocuSign. And these are going to be most useful for documents that you use on a regular basis. So if you have special stipulations that you want to put into a listing agreement or buyer brokerage agreement, or even you just don't even want to have to type in some of the brokerage information every time, a template may be a great solution for you. And also, if you're a team lead or a rainmaker, having templates will be beneficial. So that way you can make sure that all the agents on your team have all of the correct information for the stipulations that you want to use, and any team information as well. And then additionally, if you have any documents that you've created yourself that you like to share with your clients, templates is going to be how you add them into DocuSign. So that way you can send them out for signature. So I'm going to start walking through the process from start to finish today. Like I said, ask me any questions that you have. To get started, I'm going to go to DocuSign, and I'm going to start by creating a fake room because I need to download some of the documents. So to do that, I don't need to go through commands. So I'm just going to go through DocuSign.com, and I'm going to log in. And the reason I'm doing this is because I don't want to have to create an opportunity, and I'm just using this really just to download some of the GAR forms. So when you log into DocuSign from DocuSign.com, it'll take you to the e-signature platform, which is important to take note of. But the way that we work for Keller Williams is within the rooms side. So to get to the room side, you can click here on Get Started, and the drop down to switch to rooms will appear. So click on that. And then I'm going to come here to rooms because I need to create a new room to get the forms from. And I don't want to use the forms out of another room because I will have already updated those forms. They would have information in them, and I want to get blank forms to use. So I'll click new. And this will be just super quick about this. Test room for templates. Select side. I'll just select list side for today and then go boom, hit save. Perfect. So traditionally, when you're setting up your room, you'd fill out all the information in the details tab, but I'm not going to do that today because I really just want to grab the GAR forms that I'm going to set up templates for. So to get those templates, those documents, I'll click add, select DocuSign forms, and then I will select the GAR library, and then I'm just going to search for listing agreement. So come here. So I'll select the seller listing agreement, and let's say I also want to use, I can set up the buyer brokerage agreement. And these are going to be the two forms that I can add some special stipulations to and put in my information, so it's really easy to send out. Now, if there are any other forms that you want to add, any of the GAR forms that you use regularly, by all means, feel free to go ahead and download those so you can upload them into the templates. I do want to point out real quickly, because a lot of the conversations that or questions I've been asked is about the seller's property disclosure and the community association disclosure, because when we first started DocuSign, those forms weren't working properly, but they have been corrected. So you can, as the forms are currently set up now in DocuSign, you can send out the seller's property disclosure and community association disclosure fine for your sellers to fill out. Because a lot of people were asking if they needed to create a template for that so they could send it to their clients to fill out electronically. So you don't have to do that if you don't want to. So I have my forms here, my buyer brokerage agreement and exclusive seller listing. I want to download them. So to download them without having filled anything out, click on the form and it will open. And then up here in the top right-hand corner, there's this document actions button. Click on that and then select download. And that will download the blank form. You can see there's nothing in here. I'll just scroll to the bottom to show you that nothing's been included here. So it's a truly blank form that we can create the template how we want it. And I'll do the same thing for the listing agreement. Now, if you already have some of these forms on your desktop, that's fine. You can use those. I would just be mindful that as GAR makes changes to the documents throughout the year, that you upload any templates you create yourself to the most updated GAR forms. So I've downloaded the two documents here. Now I want to start creating the template. And to do that, we actually have to switch back to the e-signature side of DocuSign. And that's where all the templates live. So to do that, click on your picture or the circle in the top right-hand corner, and then come down to switch to e-signature. And that'll take us over back to the other side of DocuSign. And to get started in creating templates, up here, we will select the Templates tab, and that'll put us right here into the templates creation area. Now you'll see here under the My Templates section, and I don't have any templates. And if you click below here to Shared with Me, these are going to be all the templates that the MCA office has put together for us as agents as a part of First Atlanta. So you can see here, these are all the templates that we have access to. And these are going to be the shared ones that all the agents have. But we want to create our own template. So to do that, I'm going to create first template. Just click Create here, or you can select New, and we're going to select Create Template. The other option is Upload Template, which I will show you how to do later on. So we will create template. And it's going to take us into what looks like an envelope. And it's going to be very similar steps, but it is creating a template. So we will name this document. So let's do the exclusive buyer brokerage agreement. And then I'm going to name it, Nicholas Core Real Estate Group version. So that way I know that as I'm selecting documents that this is my version of it. And then you can give a description if you want to here, exclusive buyer brokerage agreement with formatted stipulations for clients of Nicholas Core Real Estate Group. You don't have to put any information there if you don't want to, but you can if you want to provide some more information. Now we're going to add the document that we want to use. So I'm going to select Upload. And I'll come to my downloads, and then I will search for the exclusive buyer brokerage agreement. Let me make sure I'm selecting the right one. Here we go, perfect. From this morning at 10:07. So I'll click Open, and it's going to upload that PDF. So you can see it's added there. And I will come down here, and now we need to add recipients. Now, the thing that's going to be different here versus a traditional envelope is we don't actually know the name of our clients yet. So what we're going to want to do here is we'll set up role, and we'll do buyer 1. And then we leave the name and email information blank, because that will all be added when we actually send this out to our clients. Add recipient, we'll do buyer 2, and then we need to add ourselves as buyer's agent. And we can leave that blank. And then here it's going to pre-populate an email subject and an email message. You can just leave this as is, because when you send this document as a part of an envelope, you'll be able to update the message and email subject for that specific envelope later. So once we've filled in all the information, we've attached the correct PDF, added our roles and our email subject, we can go click Next. One thing I want to point out that as you're setting up the role, so you can see here, I set up buyer 1. When we do the listing agreement, we'll want to set up seller 1 and seller 2, and we want the name of those roles to match the roles that we've added in the details tab of our rooms. So that way it can more easily match as we are adding signature fields in the envelope. So I'm going to select Next. And you can see very similar to the envelope, I have a blank document up here in the top left-hand corner. It is automatically goes to buyer 1. Then we have buyer 2 and buyer's agent. And you can see that each one has a different color. So that's designation of the information that will be input here. So as the buyer's agent, we're going to be the one that's setting up the template and adding information. Now, I'll go through and add a lot of the text fields, but there's a lot of information in this buyer brokerage agreement. So it's going to take a while. Now, that's something to keep in mind, that as we set up this document, it's going to take a lot of time on the front end for you to create it and add all the text fields, but that will save you time on the back end. So that way, once you are closing a lot of deals and getting a lot of buyers and sellers, you don't have to worry about updating that information. So anywhere that there is a blank or a checkbox in this document, we are going to have to add a text field here to be filled in. And make sure that you have selected yourself or the buyer's agent role, and then we'll start adding text boxes. And it's really as simple as grabbing a text box here. We're going to place this here and just stretch that in for as long as possible. Add another text box. And this is what you're going to do for the entire document, for anywhere that there's a blank. Now, I won't make you sit through putting every single one of these together, but I do want to point out some of the differences of what we'll do throughout adding the text boxes information here. So we'll add a text box here for the date. All right, let me just add another one here. And then we'll select a checkbox here. Now we know we're always going to be an independent contractor, so we'll just leave that checkbox. We don't need to add employee or broker. And then agency, we'll add a checkbox for sub agency, and we'll add a checkbox for dual agency. Perfect. So you can see kind of the process of adding in the text fields and the checkboxes. One thing you'll notice is that when I select, well, actually, let me scroll down real fast and give you an example. So scrolling through here, at the bottom of the first page of every single GAR form, it has this box here that this form is copyrighted and may only be used in real estate transactions in which blank is involved as a real estate licensee. We always have to add our name to that. So this is a place that you could go ahead and add your name. So to do that, you could put in your text box. And so I will just fill in Nicholas Core. Oh, don't hit enter because that will move it. And then perfect. Now I don't have to worry that every single time that I send a buyer brokerage agreement, that when I'm creating the envelope, I have to add my name to this form. So I've already taken that away. So you can see up here at the top, I've left these fields blank because I will fill this information in the envelope before I send it to my buyer. But I can add in any information here that's going to stay the same forever. So I don't have to touch that the next time I send this buyer brokerage agreement out. So scrolling through, keep scrolling, and we're scrolling. All right, so brochures, here we'll still want to add check boxes, especially if there are specific brochures that you send to your clients. You can just go ahead and add the check boxes to those specific ones. And now we're going to get to the special stipulations. And this is where a lot of agents have reached out to me in wanting to set up the templates because they have specific stipulations that they want to add to every single one of their documents. So to add a stipulation, just grab a text box and you can come over here and you just start typing in it. This is a special stip I add to every buyer brokerage agreement KWFA is the best brokerage. You know, whatever stipulations you want to add here, just add those in here. And you can just leave it as is. Now, by leaving it purple, you can still make changes. So let's say you're working with a buyer and that buyer is really hesitant about signing a buyer brokerage agreement. You may say, you know what, I'll add a special stipulation to our buyer brokerage agreement that says you can cancel at any time with 24-hour notice. You'll still be able to add that in the envelope. So you don't have to adjust your template or anything here. So I want to point that out. So that way you know that this is still editable. You can still make changes. You can delete the stipulation later on if you need to. So scrolling down here. Now this is where it's going to save you probably the most amount of time to fill in this information, because you can add down here, you can start to add in all of your information, your contact information, the office information that traditionally isn't always mapped correctly. So you just grab a text box and fill out that information. And then we'll want to add our brokerage information. So we'll grab text box here, Keller Williams, First Atlanta. And we'll want to drag this out. Perfect. And then I'll want to add my signature. And I can tell that everything that's purple is for the buyer's agent. So let me make that smaller so it fits. Then I'm also going to want to add a date signed. So I'll come here, add date signed right there. Perfect. So you can see I just go through and add all the information. I'll just show a quick example here. So this will be 200 Glen Ridge Point Parkway, Suite 100. And then we'll add Atlanta, Georgia 30342. So I've added all my information, which is perfect. I don't want to, for the sake of time, fill out everything, but you get the point. You'll want to add in text boxes down here and fill in all this information. That's going to stay the same. Then we'll come up here to the buyer's information. So I'm going to change this to buyer 1, and then I'm going to add a name field here. So by adding the name field where it shows his full name, DocuSign will automatically add their name based on the role that I've assigned to buyer 1. So I don't have to manually type in their name. I don't need to worry about it because it is going to automatically show up there. Then I'll select signature. I'll put signature right here, and I'll select date signed and add that here. And then I need to do the same for buyer 2. So I'll just change the recipient to buyer 2 here. Everything will change to blue, and add signature line here, date signed, and name. So now I've added all the information that I need here. If you want to add a line here for email address, you can. You don't have to, but you have that option. So you can see here we have all the pertinent information that we need for our buyers 1 and 2, and then myself as the buyer's agent. So now I can click Save and Close. And I have now successfully created my buyer brokerage template. I can do the same thing with the listing agreement. Now, one thing I want to also show you is why we're over here on the e-signature side. We have folders over here, so you can organize your templates into folders. So for me, just to keep everything neat and clean, I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to say buyer brokerage docs. And I will create that folder. And then I want to move my buyer brokerage agreement into that folder. So I'll select it and then click move. And then select buyer brokerage docs folder and then click move. So now when I come over here, I see my buyer brokerage agreement in that folder, and just going to be an easy way of organizing those folders. Now, one thing I want to point out here is that oftentimes you'll want to create folders, so that way when you go into DocuSign, you can say, oh, I want to pull all the documents that I have for my buyer brokerage agreement. So I want to put all those forms into one folder so I know exactly what I need to do. Unfortunately, these folders do not create that type of capability to have all the documents that you want in a single place to add to your room. That permission is only at the market center level. So the MCA office are the ones that are able to organize documents in groups, so that way you can have all your buyer brokerage documents together, all your listing documents together. I've talked with Michael. There are plans to create those groups of documents, and that way you can easily select all the documents that you need in one fell swoop rather than having to individually search for each document. But that is kind of in the pipeline, because we want to make sure that we have all the documents mapped correctly, and there are still some back and forth hiccups with DocuSign. So just know that's on the map to happen soon. But these folders here in the template portion of the e-signature side of DocuSign allows you to organize your templates that you want. So we've created our buyer brokerage template. We can do the same thing with the exclusive listing agreement, and I'll show you that just very quickly. So we'll select new, create template. It'll be the same process. So we'll just exclusive listing agreement, Nicholas Core Real Estate Group. And I'll come here and I will upload from my downloads. And is this the right one from today? Perfect, 10:07 a.m. We'll upload that. Again, we'll have role, so we'll do seller 1, seller 2, excuse me, and then listing agent. So these are going to be our main roles. You can go ahead and set signing order here. I wouldn't recommend doing that, just because you can adjust that in the envelope before you send to a client. And then at the bottom, we have our pre-populated message, which we don't need to edit. And then we can click next, and this is going to put us into the exclusive listing agreement. Now, there are a lot more fields on the listing agreement, so this will take a little bit more time to fill in, but it'd be the same process. You'd select yourself as a listing agent and then start adding text fields in here. And you would just do this for all fields on the document. I don't want to go through and add every single one because there are a lot here, but just know that that is what you'll have to do. So I would give yourself a fair amount of time to put all this information together. And then that way you don't have to worry about it in the future. So I just added my name at the bottom of the first page. Scrolling down. It'll be the same thing where you can add any special stipulations that you want. Same process here. So add your text box. Special stip 1, special stip 2. Goodness, I cannot spell today. There would be your special stipulations, and scrolling down, we would add all the signature information here, and you just fill it in same way we did before. Now, I previously added, I just wrote my name in here as Nicholas Core. You can do that. It's probably a little bit easier, but you can also add the full name option there. So see, I have a question. Is it correct we potentially have to do that for Scratch every 6 months when GAR changes the forms? Theoretically, yes. Anytime that GAR changed those forms, you would need to create a new template. So keep that in mind. So as we get updates and Alita teaches those classes, you want to make sure that you're updating your forms correctly. So this is why I'm saying this is only to be used on forms that's going to save you a lot of time. Because after a while, I don't want you to create templates for every single form that you use, because you'll end up spending so much time creating the template that I don't think it'll serve you the best possible way. So I want to show you, I'm just going to add the signature fields here for seller 1 and seller 2. And then name and date. Perfect. So now we have our listing agreement template set up. So I will click Save and Close. Click on My Templates. You can see both of them are exclusive listing agreement and buyer brokerage. I want to create a new folder, and I'll name this Listing Agreement Docs. Hit Create. And I'm going to move my listing agreement into the Listing Agreement Docs folder. So now when I'm over here, I can easily see which documents I have organized in those folders. So I have a question. So the question is how to access those documents from command. So we don't access any of the GAR forms from command. All of the GAR forms are housed in DocuSign. It isn't until after we've received signatures on those forms that we upload them or add them to command. And then John asked questions, do we need to create a template if we only have one buyer or seller, or can we just use a template where we filled out all the fields to be populated? That is a really great question. John, I would recommend that if you only have, well, if you want to create a template, you can create a template to use it every single time, outside of whether or not you have one buyer or seller or two buyers or sellers, and it will adjust accordingly depending on the number of buyers or sellers you add. But only make the template if it's going to save you time from having to input lots of information every single time you create a buyer brokerage agreement or listing agreement or whatever form you use. So it's really more about the information you add and less about the number of clients that you have on that form. So now that we've created our templates, I want to show you how we use those templates. Now, in order to use them, we have to switch back to the room side. So to do that, click on your picture in the top right-hand corner of the circle, and then click Switch to Rooms. And now we are here in our rooms. So you can go through here and add all of your details. So I'm just going to quickly add, I'll use the buyer brokerage one since that has more information. So just scrolling down here, buyer brokerage or buyer 1. I'm just going to do Tony Stark, and I'll add email kwfatech@gmail.com. Buyer 2, Pepper Potts. Then I'm going to use my personal email. And then buyer's agent, buyer agent 1, I'll put myself. Core. And then email nicholascore@kw.com. Perfect. So I'm going to click Save. Now I'm going to come to the Documents tab. And you can see here the two documents that I added earlier, the buyer brokerage and listing. This is from when I just downloaded them. So pretend that we're out of here. Now, because you're using a template, you don't add the template to the Documents tab. I want to double point that out. You do not add templates to the Documents tab of the room. The documents that are added here are only going to be the documents that you have to fully add or fully update information on. For the templates that we've created, we are going to add them in the envelope. So we can bypass the documents here, and I'm going to click Envelopes, create a new envelope, and then here we'll fill out the information. Please DocuSign, and we'll do Stark, envelope name, Stark Potts Buyer Brokerage Agreement. Now in the past, if you're going to add documents from the room, you'd select Room Docs here. But I want to use a template for this. So I'm going to select Use Template. And now it's going to show a list of all my templates. Now, when we were in the e-signature side in the templates section, I created the different buyer brokerage and listing agreement folders for organization. When you bring up your templates here, it doesn't show those folders. So just be mindful of that. It's really more for organization and less for making it easier to select which documents. So I'm going to use my exclusive buyer brokerage agreement template and click Add Selected. Question, do the GAR forms and command transaction populate from FMLS listings? Unfortunately, no. In .loop, we did, if you put in the FMLS or Georgia MLS number, it would auto-populate all that information. DocuSign does not have that same capability, so you do have to manually add the information to the Details tab. So once you've added the information in the Details tab, and then you start to update documents in the room, that will fill with that information, but it won't pull directly from FMLS. So I've added my buyer brokerage template here, and you can see it sees TMPL. Now that lets me know that this is a template and not a document from the room. And then we're going to add our recipients here. So we will select pre-tagged roles. So we'll select buyer 1. Now this is where things are going to be, well actually we will select buyer 1 as Tony Stark, buyer 2 as Pepper Potts, and then buyer's agent, I'm going to select myself. And we will select Add Selected. Perfect. So we've added our buyers here, myself. You can update the signing order if you want to. And then email subject, whatever you want to put here in a message, please sign documents. Thank you, Nick. All right, now we will click on Next. And this will take us into the envelope where we can start to edit the fields. So right now, yellow is buyer 1 that's listed as Tony Stark. So I want to select myself as purple as the buyer's agent. So that way I can make the changes. So I can come over here and I will update this to Tony Stark and Pepper Potts and Keller Williams First Atlanta. Add today's date of 5/21/2020. You can fill out the information here, 5/21. So if you did not create a template, you would add all this information in the room, in the document you would add all this information in the Documents tab, but since it's a template, you update it here in the envelope. And I'll just make this 11/21/2020. And then select independent. Well, I guess you can't select that now. I guess the check marks here, you have to select when you sign. So I'll show you that in just a moment. So scroll down to the additional information. You can see my name is already there because I added that when I created the template. So scrolling down. Keep scrolling. And then here are the special stipulations that are going to be there every single time. But I actually want to add one here. So to do that, I don't know why it's being weird here. So if you want to add any text, you can click over here in the add text on the right-hand side and add another stipulation to the exclusive buyer brokerage agreement. Perfect. And now I was able to add another stipulation. And then I scroll down. I can see that all the information I added before is already in here. And I know that since Tony Stark and Pepper Potts are properly designated as buyer 1 and buyer 2, all that information is going to be filled in perfectly fine when they go to sign this. So I'll send this really quickly just so you can see what it looks like for each one of the signing parties. So I'll sign now first as the buyer's agent. I'll do just very quickly here. So I'll select sign, click continue. Now I can go through here and I can make any changes to all the purple text boxes that I added. Now I filled in all the information in the envelope, but I do have the ability to change it. And then I'll also come here and I'll want to select sub-agency and dual agency. I want to check those boxes. And then scroll down. I can add another stip. So you see all those boxes are still editable when you go to sign because you've assigned those boxes to yourself as the buyer's agent. So I come down here, everything's good to go. I'll click sign, perfect. Now finish. All right, so now what I'm going to do is let me pull this over. I'm going to share a different screen with you. Let me stop sharing and then let me come to share screen. Perfect. So now we're in my email that I set up for KWFA Tech, and this is what's going to be like for buyer 1 to sign. So this is what it's going to look like. Continue. You can see all that information has been filled in. These 2 checkboxes for sub-agency and dual agency have been selected because as the listing agent or the buyer's agent, I filled those in. Scroll down, scrolling down. There's all the stipulations. You can see I added another one. And then my name, Tony Stark, auto-populates here. Perfect, adopt and sign. Perfect. So that's what it's like to add the template. So you just click no thanks here. Your clients don't need to create a DocuSign account. Now, but I want to switch back to my Google Chrome. Here, let's do share. Perfect. So that's how you create a template from start to finish. So you can see how we added it in the template side, in the e-signature side of DocuSign. We created a template. We uploaded the GAR forms. Now, if you have any other forms you want to use, you can add those as well. Another question I get a lot is, especially for teams, is how do I make sure that every single one of the team members has access to these templates? Right now, the only permissions that allow for documents to be shared amongst several agents is at the MCA Market Center level. So unfortunately, a rainmaker is unable to share his or her documents with the agents on the team. but there is a workaround for that. So I want to show you how you can download the template that you just created, and then you can share it with your agents or have your admin upload it for them. So going back into the e-signature side of DocuSign, so click on a picture in the top right-hand corner, click switch to e-signature. And then at the top, I'm going to select templates. And it's going to show me a list of all my templates. Now I've organized them down here below in the different folders. So if you want to make sure that you have, let's say you have a new agent that just joined your team and you want to share this listing agreement with them, you can come here, select it, and then select more, and you can download. So that has now downloaded my DocuSign template. Perfect. I can, I have it in my downloads folder. So then you could email this document to your new agent, or if they wanted to give you access to their DocuSign, you could go in and upload it, but probably emailing it's going to be simplest. Then let's say now, okay, I'm the new agent on the team and my team lead just sent me the template. I would come here to new and I could upload the template, and it is going to come over here, DocuSign template. This actually, I need to unzip it first. Perfect. All right. So now I'm going to upload DocuSign templates. This should be, yep, for 1043. Click open. And it's going to add that template to my room. So you can see here, it just added it right here, exclusive listing agreement, Nicholas Core Real Estate Group 1. So that's how I know it's going to be a little bit different. Now, because I've already created this template, it's going to have the same name, but I've now added it. So if I go back into the switch to rooms, let me come here, test room for templates, envelopes. I'm going to create a new envelope just really, really quickly. Use template, my templates. You can see here that this is my new template, exclusive listing agreement dash NKREG 1. So this is my new one. I'll hit add selected. And then we'll add recipients. So we'll do pre-tagged roles. And then let's do, let's just say today I only have one seller. So to John's question earlier, what if you only have one buyer, one seller? I'll just select seller 1, and then listing agent, I'll select myself. Then click add selected. So there's the contact information. I'm going to click next, just so then you can see that that exact same template has now been uploaded into my DocuSign. So this is how you can share those templates with your other contacts. So it's going to default to myself, and then you can see here, Tony Stark is going to be seller 1. So scroll down, scrolling down, scrolling down. Special steps. Now, since I only selected one seller, only one seller's information shows up here because I set the template up to say seller 1 and seller 2. So if there is not a seller 2 role, nothing will appear here. So this is going to be all seller 1 for Tony Stark, and then myself right here as the listing agent. And then you would just send this here. So I've gotten through all the information I wanted to share with you today about creating templates, how to send them out, how to set them up, and how to download them and share them with other members of your team. Any questions that I can answer for you this morning about templates, sharing them, or anything DocuSign related? We still have 13 minutes, so I want to make sure you all walk away from this training feeling much more confident in DocuSign and more excited about the transition from .loop to DocuSign. So question asking, does DocuSign support Teams? So at the moment, the team capability for DocuSign is pretty limited. What I recommend is that, excuse me, and I'll show you this real quickly. Let me look at it here. Is that in .loop, you have the capability of adding admin to a loop, and so they could go and they could see all of the documents in that loop from one agent to another. That DocuSign does not have the same capabilities at the moment. Now, I do think that there are some permission changes, but that's going to be at the KWRI level. So at the moment, you can't just add an admin. But what you can do is, if you come to people, is you can add, come here and add, invite, you can add people to your room. So I'm going to hit cancel here because that's not what I want. You can add, well, I don't have anything set up here, but you can add, let's say, the team leader. So if I'm an agent on a team, I can come into people and I can add my team lead as a room owner, and they would have the permission to see all the documents, and then the admin could log in under the team lead's information and see all of the documents there. So that's kind of the workaround now, is by adding the team lead into the people section of the room. Now, your agents will have to go through every single time they create a new room for each transaction and add that team lead. Question, what is the issue with the checkboxes? So the issue, well, it isn't really an issue with the checkboxes, but when you create the template or when you're in the envelope, it doesn't allow you to select them because it wants you to select them when you go to sign. So it isn't really an issue other than you just have to make sure that you check those boxes when you go to sign. Is there a way to save your agent name and brokerage information so it automatically populates in the room area of DocuSign, or is the template the only way to do this? So if you add in all of your information in the details tab, most of that information will auto-populate in the document in the documents tab. That being said, there still are some issues with the mapping of that information from details into the document. So at the moment, I think it's like 85% of the information will auto-populate correctly, but then you'll still have to manually add in, I think, like the office license number and some of the other information like that. So if you want to have it set up so where you never have to put that information in, then yes, a template is going to be your best bet. Any other questions or anything anyone would want to see again before we go? All right, well, if there are no more questions, I'll let you guys go. Thank you for joining. As you are playing around with DocuSign, let me know what questions you have. Let me know what issues you're having. By letting me know what problems you're having, I can then help you troubleshoot and get that fixed for you. Then also lets me know what I need to let other agents inform them of what they'll need to know as well. So it's really beneficial. So let me know how I can help. Always feel free to reach out, call me, text me, and have a great holiday weekend. Thank you all.